Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Temple Institute Parsha class. My name is Gedalia Meyer, and I'm podcasting from Ma'ale Adumim in Israel. A phenomenon that is well known to almost everyone is the so-called zoned-in experience. This is when a person feels so in touch with what is going on, so in tune with the energy of the moment, that they are absolutely there and nowhere else. When this somewhat inexplicable experience happens, we are fully aware of it. In fact, we are hardly aware of anything else. It is so captivating and so all-encompassing that all else seems insignificant in comparison. This experience can happen at any time. It frequently doesn't require any special circumstances to cause it, but those outside factors can certainly help to stimulate it. It may kick in during a particularly intense conversation. It may be activated by an intense emotional feeling like love or fear. It may be a physical activity like a sport or playing a musical instrument. It may come about in conjunction with some hallucinogenic experience. It may be something as simple and as powerful as connecting with one's child or spouse. It can also happen at the spur of the moment for no reason whatsoever. It's just there without any prompting or warning. It may last for a second or may be sustained for a matter of minutes. Being zoned in is being alive without all the clutter and distractions of normal life. All else seems utterly irrelevant, trivial matters of no consequence. To be there is to experience the moment as it was meant to be experienced, and not as some peripheral sensation that is just one of many things going on in the multitasking mind. It is hard to say if this experience is going the way of the typewriter. There is no evidence to back this up, but then again, there is nothing to say that it isn't happening. This is a largely unexplored area in psychology, and it is not as if anybody is tracking this experience. We all know it, and we all assume we will have these experiences from time to time. But with the unprecedented inundation in our lives from our ubiquitous access to chatter and distraction in the form of our smartphones, it could very well be that this most wonderful of sensations is on its way out of our lives. This week's Parsha is called Vayigash. That word means, and he approached, another introductory word phrase to a dramatic event taking place. In this case, it was Yehuda approaching his brother Joseph, the viceroy of Egypt. Yehuda didn't know that the viceroy was Joseph, but he was pleading for the life of their younger brother, Benjamin, after he was nabbed taking off with Joseph's private goblet that he used for divination purposes. This, of course, was all part of a scheme cooked up by Joseph in last week's Parsha to frame his brothers and to put them off guard. It was all part of the vague, greater plan of Joseph to reunite his family by bringing them all to Egypt to save them from the regional famine. It is unclear why this framing scheme was necessary, but it happened, and now Yehuda felt it was upon him to clear things up. In the course of the ensuing dramatic and traumatic discussion, Yehuda goes as far as to offer himself as a slave to Joseph in exchange for Benjamin's freedom. He explains that their old father would not survive the trauma of losing his youngest son. When things reach a crescendo, Joseph finally reveals himself to his brothers. They are described, upon hearing this revelation, as, quote, struck silent since they were terrified of him. His initial announcement to them was with much weeping, so it caused this traumatic reaction. But he followed this by asking them to come closer, and then he repeated his revelations more calmly. He told them to not feel guilty over the past, but to concentrate on saving their lives and the life of their father. They were to bring everyone to Egypt and ride out the famine there under his protection. So ends the longest saga in the book of Genesis. The bigger story, of course, would only begin here. It would lead to the Israelites remaining in Egypt and eventually becoming slaves. Then would come the period of the plagues and the Exodus and all that transpired after. This was a prelude to all that, but it was also a great story on its own. But in reality, it didn't end at that moment. Joseph and his brothers returned to their father in Canaan to bring him to Egypt. The moment when they tell Jacob that Joseph is indeed alive after all these years and that he is the ruler in Egypt has its own drama. The Torah says that, quote, his heart fainted because he didn't believe them, a somewhat odd phrase. But once he recovered and realized that they were indeed speaking the truth, things were set in motion for the great journey to Egypt. He declared that Joseph was alive and that he would go and see him before he died. But there is further drama coming. There is the meeting of Jacob and Joseph after 20-odd years of being apart, and Jacob not knowing that Joseph was alive. The Torah describes this emotional meeting rather plainly. Quote, Joseph harnessed his chariot and he went out to greet his father, Israel, in the district of Goshen. He saw him and fell upon his neck, and he continued weeping upon his neck. And Israel said to Joseph, now I can die, for I have seen your face, and you are still alive. While this reaction may strike us as underwhelming, there is a great deal hidden in the words. Here we have Joseph, a grown man and the ruler of Egypt, crying like a baby after being reunited with his father. We also have Jacob, Israel, the father who hasn't seen his son for all those years and probably suspected that he was really dead, not weeping at all, but making this slightly bizarre statement. What does he mean, quote, now I can die? What kind of reaction is that upon seeing his long-lost son? Furthermore, he already knew that Joseph was alive. His sons had convinced him of that earlier when they told him, despite the fact that he initially didn't believe it. So what is this business of, quote, I have seen your face and you are still alive? Did he doubt that until this moment? There is no indication that there really was any lingering doubt in Jacob's mind up to this point. He made the trip and he knew what was coming. So why did he say that? There is much to say about this mysterious reaction, and the commentaries have a field day with it. Among the more creative is one that originated in a midrashic teaching. It states that while Joseph was openly weeping, Jacob was reciting the Shema. The Shema, of course, is the central Jewish declaration of belief in the oneness of God. It comes up in the Torah in the book of Deuteronomy, and there is really no reason to believe that it originated any earlier. But here is Jacob reciting it just at this moment. To clear up any historical problems, perhaps we can say that what Jacob was doing was making some sort of declaration of God's oneness, even if it wasn't the actual words in the subsequent text of the Shema. But either way, the question has to be asked. Why now? Perhaps there is some deep logic to all this. What Jacob meant by, quote, now I can die, was the equivalent of somebody today saying, my life is now fulfilled. He didn't doubt that Joseph was really alive, but actually seeing him in the flesh is quite different from merely hearing about it and accepting it. The single open gap in his life was now closed, and he could lead the rest of his life in peace. This much is fairly easy to read into the text. But the thing about the Shema still demands an explanation. Perhaps this also fits into the picture. What do we do when something like this happens? A meeting with a long-lost friend or relative. We might weep like Joseph did, or jump for joy, or any of a million other emotional reactions. This is the natural way to react to such an experience, but it is not the only way. There is also a more subdued way of reacting, a way that may not seem at all appropriate to those witnessing it, but nevertheless really hits the spot. It requires putting aside all mundane emotional feelings, however powerful and appropriate they may seem. As difficult as this may appear, and as much as psychologists might take issue with it, it is also a way for the mind to handle what is going on. It is to gain a sense of God consciousness to complete the moment. God consciousness is that elusive spiritual experience that is rapidly losing whatever power it may have once had due to the onslaught of other more readily accessible experiential states that flood us constantly. But God consciousness is still out there, or in there, waiting to be experienced and imbibed. It is the sense that in some way there is a divine power or reality that permeates everything and makes it be. It may come as a feeling that everything has a purpose, or that all the trials and tribulations one went through were all for a reason. It may be a simple realization that life has meaning, or that there is a basic goodness to everything. It may be a religious feeling, and it may be completely separate from all religious belief. It is the straight and pure experience that God is real. This perhaps is what Jacob felt at this crucial moment in his life. That there was a oneness to everything. It all had to be. He didn't weep because this feeling took precedence. This was the experience of the moment, the way of being there. It was Jacob overcoming all else, no matter how powerful, and allowing himself to experience this singular experience with the awareness of the absolute true reality of all. This may be the ultimate in really being there. It is not clouded with any personal or outside feeling, however appropriate they may seem. It is simply recognizing the ultimate oneness of everything and resolving all the contradictory indications otherwise. There is God. This is not the only way of being zoned in. There are as many ways of doing that as there are people or personal experiences. No one way can claim to be the royal road to the zoned in experience. But this is one of the ways. It is available at all times, not just when greeting a long-lost friend or relative. It could come when drinking a cup of coffee or watching the sunset. It could happen when doing absolutely nothing or when engaged in the most intense concentration. It is always there and also waiting, regardless of one's belief or religious affiliations. It is pure spirituality, unencumbered by all the chatter and the obstructions. To experience God is to be alive, to be there. Shabbat Shalom.